G'day mates, in today's video I want to kick off talking about why I think potentially this season could be delayed, or we're going to have one of the most jam-packed finishes to the season ever. We just had the Champion Console Cup announced and is taking place on the last day of the season, the same day there's supposed to be a live event and the same day as DreamHack Dallas, our first major LAN event in years. It is going to be a very interesting finish to the season. Also, we had the FNCS semifinals today. You know I'm going to show you all the best clips and the reactions of teams that popped off, who did well, who's struggling, and what's going on in FNCS in case you missed it. So let's talk about, let's just jump into it. Normally with FNCS semifinals, I'd kick off my video talking about all the big teams, who qualified, who didn't, the crazy moments, all the reactions. That is coming in a little bit, but this is arguably more important. We had the Champion Console Cup announced today, but not only that, we also have evidence that there is going to be a very jam-packed end of the season, and potentially I could see season getting delayed or some kind of black hole event or something. So let me go across exactly why that is. So we had iFireMonkey tweet out today, the Console Champion Cup for Chapter 3 Season 2 is currently set to start May 31st to June 4th. Different regions having different timings and will have 4 rounds. Now, the reason why this is a big deal is because if you go onto the Epic Games website right now, it says the Battle Pass is set to end on June 3rd, which would mean the new season starts on June 4th. That's how that always works. But apparently the Champions Console Cup isn't set to end until June 4th. Like the finals are on June 4th. iFireMonkey followed up this tweet saying also the times listed above are using UTC. So June 4th for round 4 of NA West is technically 1 a.m. UTC, which would actually be 9 p.m. June 3rd. So a little bit of time conversions, but that means it still finishes on June 3rd, but there's other regions still to take place. West is usually the last region to happen, so it might be that the Champion Console Cup finishes on June 3rd. We get a live event because there is supposed to be a live event. There's a lot of leakers talking about that. It looks like that's what the Collider's building up to. It's almost definite we're gonna get a live event at the end of this season, so we're gonna have not only Champion Console Cup end on June 3rd. Remember, DreamHack Dallas, the first major LAN event we've had in years, happening on the 3rd. So we're going to have those events finish, presumably downtime into an event, and then a new season on the 4th, or is there going to be like a black hole on the 4th? Like, we don't know what's going on because this is so jam-packed. We don't normally have this much going on. It's weird that for last season and this season it's becoming a trend for the Champion Console Cup to get shoved in on the last few days. I really don't like that. I've talked about that a few times now. Console only get one singular tournament a season where they all get to play, where it's not just PlayStation versus PlayStation and Xbox just gets nothing. So it's really annoying to see it just kind of like jammed in at the very end when no one really cares about the season anymore. We're waiting for it to end to get some new content. So first off, that feels a little bit bad. The fact that DreamHack Dallas is just getting fit in on the last day as well, it could make the end of season really exciting. Like, it could make it jam-packed. Then we have this crazy event, then we kick off with the new season. Everyone's freaking out, but it looks like it's going to be ugly. I can see one of these events having some issues if something goes wrong because there's almost no time to reschedule it. It's also sad that potentially Champions Console Cup and DreamHack Dallas are going on at the same time, because normally the Console Champions Cup happens on its own day when there's no other tournament so everyone can watch it. This does mean what a lot of people have been asking for. A lot of the top tier pros will be at DreamHack, so they won't be playing the Champion Console Cup. So for those console guys who are always really annoyed that they see the PC pros coming and stealing their money on console, you might get a chance to have a better performance now. We already had TK tweet out that someone is going to finally get a chance to win the NA East Champions Console Cup because he's going to be at Dallas. So let me cover exactly what we know about the Champions Console Cup. It wasn't actually put in the game properly yet, but all the images are there from other people who found it, and iFireMonkey obviously found in the files. As you can see here, the way the rounds are going to take place, iFireMonkey tweeted out correctly. You are going to have round 1 starting on June 31st, and it's going to go till June 3rd. It's going to have 4 rounds, just like they normally do. It's kind of like the mini FNCS on the weekends. We don't have the exact rules of how many people are going to qualify or what the prize pool is, but I would presume this is looking like a complete repeat of last season. It looks like it's going to have the same format, same prize pool, I imagine. I don't know why Epic doesn't announce this earlier. I have no idea why the Champion Console Cup always gets announced so late. It doesn't feel like it needs to wait for anything. Like, they're not waiting to announce it. They just seem to announce it really late and shove it in. So I really hope it's still fun. It's still hype for the console community. I hope nothing goes wrong because there's going to be no time to reschedule it. I hope it's not going on while the Collider's exploding and doing crazy stuff, because normally it's the last few days of seasons like this where Epic does some crazy wacky things to the map to try to get people hyped for a new season. So I wanted to talk about that before I talked about FNCS semifinals, because I feel like the end of this season is going to be crazy. All right, time to move on to FNCS semifinals or heats, whatever you want to call it. This was semifinal number 1. There was 5 games. Anyone who got a win in any of those 5 games is going straight through, and top 6 most consistent leaderboard who didn't get a win. And of course, when a win goes straight through to grands, you have those reboot round kind of reactions. I want to show you some of them. The first one, Spayde and Chimp came out hot, got an 11 elim win in their very first game. Now, they were triple contested at the Sunny Step split. They had 3 teams around them at Lighthouse and other teams near Bugle, so honestly, I was a bit scared for them. They're one of the best teams in the heats. They came second last FNCS. They've been looking really good so far in FNCS, but I was scared to see how they'd go. Luckily, they did get a decent North Zone their first game. They absolutely popped off. Chimp went crazy and clutched up solo, and you know they had one of the best reactions.
Bro, let's go! Oh, Chimp! Let's go!
I'm not going to show every single reaction from everyone who won today, but second up in game number 2, we had Glace and Trashy take out the 7 elim win, and this one was big for the reaction, but it was also just insane how well Trashy played at the very end to solo clutch.
Nice. Bandages, nice. 200 match. Pulse you. Top 3. There's one duo, okay? He's on height. I'm pretty sure. Don't take my word. They have no mats, by the way. Nice. Side. They're fighting on low ground. 1v1. You got this. Side. Yep, men miss. 2 builds. John. He's probably not as healthy as you.
I'm the best in the game! I'm the best in the game!
We kicked off with 2 big favorites, which almost everyone predicted to qualify. Game 3 was the first time we got more of like an underrated team. Scare and Walkers have been playing very, very well. Scarebear was actually in my Twitch chat asking if I thought he was going to qualify. I said if they were going to do it, they were going to do it on a win, and they did in game number 3, getting an 11 elim win. Then we managed to have game number 4 go to Cobalt and Smacked, a 6 elim win, and their first 3 games weren't too hot, so they were really leaving it down to a win. They clutched up massive, and it's awesome to see Smacked still in there, still kicking, still killing it, qualifying through. And then game number 5 went to none other than the single father himself, Rise and Threats. Now, they were dropping at Condo every single game, going up against Blake and Lawrence. They were winning when they fought Blake and Lawrence, but neither of them really finding too much success out of Condo, mostly because of the zones, which I'll talk about in a second. But game number 5, they switched it up. They dropped at Greasy against 2 other teams at Greasy, but they were comfortable at Greasy. They knew it was their drop spot, and in the one game they dropped Greasy, again, against 2 other teams, they got the 4 elim win and clutched it up big at the very end. Threats with the absolute god solo clutch. I gotta show you the clip.
I'll let you get the block off.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Let's go, baby! Oh my god! I'm the best! I love you.
I can't really show the whole clip because it's a bit too long, but Rise was on high ground against so many duos and played it literally perfectly with the white heels, kept playing zone, kept coming back in. I think he took on 2 separate duos trying to take height off him with 0 builds. Just a really, really good clutch from Rise in that one. And that was the 5 teams who won. That's your top 5 going through off that. But remember, consistency still mattered. And that's where we had Bizzle and Diego getting first place on the consistency, playing really, really well. They were contested game 1 at Coney, and that was one of their worst games. They got a 3 elim 11th out of it with a really good refresh, but unfortunately they weren't able to get much more. But then once the team left at Coney, that's when they started really firing on all cylinders. They got a 4 elim 4th in their last game. They got a 3 elim 3rd. So they had good games, but they just couldn't get the win, but it didn't matter. 136 points was too easy for them. Then we have the other phase duo. We have Mega and Dubs coming in second on consistency, just Mega and Dubs fashion. Didn't get a win. They got 2 top 5s, a 7th and 8th. So 4 of their 5 games, they were top 10. They played really, really consistent. consistently. Slacks and Clarity, absolutely no surprise there. Really consistent out of Logjam. Skittles and Users. Then we had D-Roller and Pen, and then Mylito and Igna. And again, this is a really underrated team. They started off really hot. Unfortunately, their last 2 games were their worst games, but they just held on, beating out Shadow and Me Too by a single elimination. And I don't want to take this away from any teams, but I do need to show you something. I made a tweet about this and I ended up deleting it because I don't have a big enough sample size to say with 100% no shadow of a doubt Epic has changed how zones work. But I'm just going to show you this tweet that NA Comp Report put together to show you how the 5 zones pulled today in NA East Finals. Every single zone was north. 3 of them finishing around the new collider drop, which a lot of people are used to in Fortnite. It's quite a common trend when they add a new drop spot to make zones end there to kind of make it more exciting. And I'm guessing they're linked to pubs and arena too, so more people see the new POI. But 5 zones pulling north. This was so brutal for South teams. You'll notice not a single South team really qualified except for Rise and Threats in that one game they dropped Greasy. Every other South team was struggling so bad. I feel really, really bad for teams like Coop that had uncontested chonkers and just couldn't really make it work. And I don't want to make excuses for them. Some of these teams played really, really consistently. D-Roller and N-Pen qualled off consistency from dropping really far south. So some of the teams managed to pull it off, but without the vehicles, it's just so much harder when every single zone goes north. Not even a single south zone to give them a chance to get their one good game to clutch up the win. So I really hope in qualifier 2 and 3 for these heats, we get some south zones to really see what these teams can do, because it's starting to feel like every zone is pulling north. EU, I believe, had like 3 north zones out of 5. It wasn't all 5, but there is definitely a tendency right now for zones to pull edge, and it looks like they're favoring north. Moving on over to EU, we had a very similar story. We had a God solo clutch game 1 from Snayzy and Podesai. Snayzy clutched it up massive at the very end. This is a team that once you saw they got uncontested Coney, you knew they were going to qualify. Flowers and Mappy left. They tried out Greasy, but Snayzy and Podesai out of Coney is an absolute recipe for success. It always has been all season, and it only took them a single game, a 9 elim win. But like I said, it came down to a big solo clutch from Snayzy. I'll show you the clip.
Il y a encore un duo, il y a encore un duo, il y a encore un duo. Nice, gros! 1v1. T'as plus de mat,
T'as une grosse téchine.
T'as 100 de banc encore.
Nice! Let's go! Let's go, bro! Let's go! Let's go!
This was another north favoring zone, and this is where I put the pressure on teams like Hen and Queasy, iDrop and Jerky to get their win, because both teams really do need those north zones, because without vehicles on a far edge map, it's a lot harder for them to get the wins, and I knew those kind of teams were going to be pushing for the win. Hen and Queasy in that game 1 got a 5 elim 8. They got aggressively pushed on hype by multiple teams, and it didn't work out for them. Game 2, I saw it was a north zone. They had 2 pads, and you know what that means. Hen and Queasy, you're not going to give them too many chances to get a win, and they don't take it. They got a 3 elim win in their last game. This is the first time it wasn't a solo clutch here for EU. It came down as a really good, solid team effort. It almost looked too easy for them, but I will show you the reaction because Hen and Queasy get hyped, and it's always funny to watch.
Take my break. No. I'm with you. Come in zone.
200. Dad, let's go, baby! Let's go! Easy, man! Let's go, bro!
Game 3 went to more of an underrated team, but I know fan favorites, and a lot of people who follow EU closely were not surprised. I was super excited to see them take it. We had Eclipse and Norxy take out Game 3 with a 5 elim win. Game 4 went to Trulex and Chico, who obviously a phenomenal team, especially with Trulex, FNCS winner, but has been a little bit quiet this season, still playing consistently, and in Game 3 got a 3 elim 4, so was really gunning for that win, getting another 5 elim win in their 4th game, and then the last game went to the Frenchman. Now, I need to give a big shout out to Floki and Clement, because Floki and Clement were originally dropping at Chonkers. They weren't having the best luck. They were triple con. They were going up against Leshy. They ended up switching their drop spot game 5. Then we had Clement. I believe it was Clement's internet just absolutely just tank. We had a French ISP, I believe it's Orange Internet Service Provider, have issues across the entire nation. So it wasn't just Clement that was lagging. We saw DKS Bad Sniper lagging, and that didn't tilt them. Game 5, they focused up and they showed up big with an 8 elim win. So that was the 5 wins on EU. Then for our consistent teams, in first place, we had Painter and Ryzen doing really, really well. They had 4 games inside the top 10, so just a really consistent match history from them. They tied with Marco and Clinberry, who were in first the entire time until last game. They went down in 35th, but they had already clutched up the qualification. We had Kiro and Jody, and then we had Belusi, Hydro, Floiz, Mappy, who remember, Floiz and Mappy were originally going to be going greasy, but then luckily for them, Snayzy and Podesai qualifying in game 1 meant they could go back to their usual drop of uncontested Coney for all the remaining games. That was the recipe for success for their consistency, playing really well, getting a 7 elim second in their last game. So kind of actually lucky that Floki and Clement won that one, because Floiz and Mappy didn't even need it. If they wanted or didn't, they were still going to go through. Then we had in our last qualification spot DKS and Bad Sniper, who, like I mentioned, unfortunately were having big issues with their ping due to that internet service provider having major issues. So really happy to see that didn't affect them and cost them the qualification. But if Floiz and Mappy did win that last game, I believe that means Pink and Anas would have jumped up into the top qualification spot. They just missed out by 7 points, but it's Pink and Anas. I have absolutely no doubt they'll be able to bring home a win in the next 2 days. They got a 5 elim third in the first game and a 2 elim 7th in their second last game. No doubt they will qualify. Obviously, I'm talking mostly about the teams who do well here, but I know a lot of you guys are going to be asking what happened to Benji and Savage. They went down on spawn. They died on spawn 4 games in a row. It came down to their last game. The 1 game they made it off spawn, they got a 6 elim 5th. So there's rays of hope. They're showing they can do it. They can easily get a victory out if they make it off spawn. It's just the collider. It's bad. There's 4 teams going the collider. It's all a bit crazy. They're dropping on Janice and Vortex on that western side. Even if they win the fight, quite often they're getting third-partied by the team at Fortress. It's just all kinds of ugly, but I believe they can get a win. I know the fans are kind of getting behind them. I really hope Benji and Savage can take it home. They had 1 game and it looked like a good one. So let's pray they have an even better one tomorrow. I won't run the entirety of the NA West leaderboard. It did just end as of me filming this video. It looks like Arkram and Epic Whale left to their very last game to get a 12 elim win. They got a 4th place and a 5th place. They were looking strong, but it came down to the last game, but they did it for the content. Arkram and Epic Whale are finally in grand finals. We also then had Aiden and Moose, Victor V and Jaden, Lemon Bowl and Ryan FPS and Evol and On1 get their wins. That was the 5 victory hours. And then our most consistent teams out of NA West, we had Pars and Rays, Crypass and Thoric, Nitrix and Caesar, Natch and Salty, Chicken and Andy, and then Salco and Kimchi. All right, guys, that does it for another video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please chuck a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.